Carter puts the lamp to the hole. The light feels its way in, slowly, carefully, as if it had to ask for permission. And then shapes appear, not clear, not at once. First outlines, then lines, then a gleam. It's the moment when a room that's been silent for millennia finally finds its voice again.
My hand isn't shaking because it's cold. It's shaking because I know what a single mistake here means. Years in the sand, years of doubt. And now I'm standing before a wall that won't open, as if it were testing me. I hear the men behind me. No one speaks. I'm not alone, and yet it feels like I'm the only one who's allowed to breathe right now.
Before anyone sees anything, there's only this sound. Breath in the dust. A small breakthrough in a sealed wall, and suddenly there's a border between two worlds. Behind that hole is not just a room. Behind it there lies a story that has not breathed for over 3,000 years. And now, in the dim light, it begins again. I'm not just seeing things. I see resistance, dust, cobwebs, and behind it, like a dream
that was hidden for too long, surfaces shimmer. Gold, wood, paint. My head screams, look closer. My heart says, don't move, not now. I swallow, and for a moment I'm afraid that my very own breath could destroy all of this.
You cannot learn history by simply memorizing thousands of dates. That's not history, but history is when you see the bigger picture. I'm incredibly grateful to my history teachers because that is exactly what they did, and ultimately they are the very reason as to why I then went on to study history later on in my life.
Later on, that line becomes famous. The cat looks through the hole and speaks of wonderful things. But at this very moment, it's not a cheer, it's control. Because before them lies a room, crammed, chaotic, and sensitive. One wrong step and history shatters into pieces.
Welcome to a brand new episode of the History Project. I am out on my own here in Cologne today, and today we are checking out the Tutankhamun exhibition. He was truly one of the most famous pharaohs who actually lived during the ancient Egyptian era of time. And yes, I am going to give you some insights today into this amazing exhibition and hope you really enjoy it.
I know what everyone is expecting, a moment in which you scream, laugh, and celebrate. But I can't, not here, not now. Everything in me wants in, right now. And at the same time, I feel this responsibility like a hand on my throat. If I dishonor the room now, then every year in the sand was for nothing. I force my voice to stay calm.
What Carter sees first is the antechamber. It looks like a storage room after an escape. Objects are packed tightly together, stacked and wedged, and yet this is no coincidence. It's a world of grave goods, built for the afterlife, for a king who wasn't meant to just be dead, but to continue ruling.
My gaze jumps, can't hold it. Something everywhere, meaning everywhere. I see wood that looks like gold. I see shapes of animals, of gods, of things that one does not build for humans, but for eternity. And all of a sudden I realize that we have not just found a tomb. We have found an entire world packed into a single room.
The real struggle does not start with opening, it starts with not touching. Carter works in a methodical way, photographing, drawing, numbering. Every position counts, because here nothing is just an object, it's evidence. And evidence is not to be tampered with, ever.
I want to lean in, just one step. But I stop. I tell myself, you're not here to possess. You're here to understand. So I write, I draw, I have photos taken. And as the light falls onto glass plates, I realize my dream is turning into work. Work that can take years to finish.
In hours like these, you speak softly, not out of politeness, but out of instinct. Every look asks, is this real?
I look over at my people.
No one is unmoved.
No one's playing it cool. Some stare as if they're praying. Others look away as if they're afraid to see too much. And I know if I falter now, they'll all waver. So I become tougher than I feel, calmer than I am.
A chariot represents movement, status, and power on wheels. For hunting, a parade, or perhaps war. He says the king was visible, fast, superior, and in the tomb, it turns into a wish. Even in the afterlife, he should not stand still, not be trapped, keep moving on. In ancient Egypt, a sealed door is more than just a barrier. It is a passage. Behind it lies not just wealth, but the idea that a person lives on. That's why there are symbols here for protection, order, rebirth. And that's why every opening is an intrusion into a plan intended for eternity.
I don't put my hand on the door. I hold it just in front, as if to introduce myself. Who are you, Howard Carter, to want to enter here? I think of the boy who lies here, of his short life, of his power, of his fear, and I feel the weight of the moment settling on my shoulders.
4 guardian goddesses stand like walls of gazes. They guard what it is that makes the king complete. Canopic jars are not macabre, they are acts of care. The body is divided in order to save it. And these goddesses say without words, this doesn't belong to you. I feel it physically.
The air changes here, or maybe it's just my perspective. Up until now, I was an archaeologist. From here on, I become an intruder, and I hate this feeling, but I can't turn back anymore. Not after all these years, not these promises.
The sheer amount of things isn't vanity's luxury, it is religion. In Egyptian thought, the afterlife needs provisions, food, protection, status, magic, and above all names and images. For that which is named continues to exist. What is forgotten dies a second time.
I see clay like promises, staffs like symbols of power, figures like guardians. And I realize that these people didn't plan death as the end. They planned it as a journey that needs to be equipped. And suddenly every object feels like a voice saying, "Don't leave him alone."
Carter brings in photographer Harry Burton. The work becomes a record. Frame by frame, it's all captured. What would otherwise vanish into the dust? These photos won't just be documentation later on, they'll become the memory of the world. And so, with that begins the second storm, the storm of the public.
I hear the clicking of the camera and notice how it calms me down.
For it says,
This isn't slipping away from us, not completely. But I also know what it means. As soon as the images exist, there's a hunger for them too. Reporters, visitors, rumors. I want to protect this space, but I already feel it belongs to the world before we've even understood it.
between these things lies a picture of the king as a man, not just a god. Signs of the hunt, movement, representation. A young ruler who had to project strength, even though his life was short. And that is exactly why this tomb feels so close, not just grand, but truly so human.
I imagine what he was like. Not a myth, not a symbol. A young man, maybe weary of expectations, maybe proud, maybe afraid. And here in this chamber lie things that weren't just made for eternity, but for him, for his name, for his life to continue. I swallow, because it's not just science anymore.
It is not just a story in the room, there is also another promise. Another sealed door, and with it comes the question of what lies behind it. The antechamber is full, but the heart of the complex remains hidden, and the men sense it without ever speaking it out loud.
I force myself not to stare, but my eyes keep wandering back there. This door pulls me in like an abyss. We've been in the antechamber now. And the side room. The side room was no longer untouched. It was already ransacked in antiquity by grave robbers. And yet, everything here screams of something greater. I can't wait any longer. Before me stands this door. The next one. As if it's magic, like it's breathing and I am with it. One more step. And behind it. What is there? I know that behind it is what graves are built for. The body. The name. The protection. And I hear a voice inside me saying, if you open this, there's no turning back.
February 16th, 1923. Today it's official. Government officials are standing right behind us. Every look screams control. No mistakes. The sealed door to the burial chamber is being opened. Not quickly, millimeter by millimeter. The dust falls as if it were refusing to land. And then comes the question that's defining history.
I'm standing before the sealed wall. My hands are cold, but not from the winter. It is fear. It is hope. It's that trembling you just can't stop when you know that behind it, something's waiting that no one has touched for millennia. I feel the men behind me before I see them. Officers, eyes that note every hesitation. I can't just be an archaeologist here. I must be a guarantor. As the seal gives way, my mouth goes dry. Carnarvon is so close that I hear his breath, then his question, soft, urgent. Can you see anything? I hold the light to the opening, and for a moment I see only dust, dark, flickering air. Then the beam hits something that isn't stone. Gold, shapes, impossible. I swallow and just manage to get these words out. Yes, wonderful things. And I realize this is the center. The king is here, not visible, but protected, enclosed inside of shrines, as if they wanted to lock death itself away.
Carter's shaking. Not because something is happening around him, but because inside him, everything's happening at once. He feels dizzy, as if the room is holding on to him. For a split second, he thinks he's gonna topple over. Because here, what he's waited for his whole life is becoming a reality. Years of dust, doubt, scorn, and now he stands before it. You just can't imagine a feeling like that. You can only feel just how small you become when a dream is suddenly real. I am not just seeing a shrine. What I see is a purpose.
Someone here has mentioned that no one should reach it. No one should ever be taking it. And yet, here I am now. I'm feeling small. Not because of the gold, but because of the consequences. How much hope is in these layers? How much fear? And how much love?
The burial chamber is open, and it's clear right away the room isn't ours. Almost the entire chamber is filled by a massive gilded wooden shrine, like a fortress of gold. In the narrow gaps between shrine and wall lie grave goods, squeezed into the very last centimeters. Lamps, tilting bowls, vessels, oars, fans, and staves. In every wall, a niche, sealed in the plaster, for protective objects, magic bricks, as if they had armed the room itself. And now it's not the rush that starts, but the protocol. Government, oversight, rules. Everything must be documented before it's touched. Keita can't simply react the way he feels. He has to react like a professional. Photos, notes, and numbers. Every look becomes a file. The world wants wonders. In here, only control counts.
Behind me stand the officers. I feel their gaze before I hear them. Every move has to be perfect. Every move must be justified. I don't say much, I just nod. Pressure builds, like my heart is trying to hammer against my ribcage. On the outside, I stay neutral, because if I lose control now, this find will lose its dignity.
Tutankhamun's burial chamber is famous for its nesting. Shrines built inside one another, like a fortress made out of symbols. It's not just protection from robbers, it's protection from being forgotten. Layer by layer, the body is shrouded in meaning, as though you could outsmart death itself.
I do not just see a shrine, I see a clear intent. Someone here has decreed that no one should reach this place. No one should take it. And yet, here I am now. I feel so small, not because of the gold, but because of the consequence. How much hope is in these layers? How much fear and how much love?
These shrines aren't just sitting like decorations in the room, they're built up layer upon layer, as if there were a fear of their own future. Gold on the outside, more shrines within, tighter, holier, closer to the core. And in these spaces, more objects, as if they were intentionally blocking the way. You feel it without a word. This king was not meant to be reached. As the stone sarcophagus comes into view, my face stays calm. But inside, it's like a blow. Quartzite, the weight.
Finality. And I know what that means. Not just one coffin, not even two. Still more. They've got him, as if death itself wasn't secure enough. I exhale softly and keep going.
As the work continues, it becomes clear how brutal the logic is. To reach the core, layers must be removed without destroying them. This is no opening. It's disassembly with bated breath. And eventually, it's laid bare. The stone sarcophagus, quartzite, heavy, final. 4 guardian goddesses at each of the corners, as if they were guarding the final meter.
3 coffins, nested. I see we're only allowed to approach the core centimeter by centimeter. Every lid is a risk. Each touch can shatter history. So I must stay objective. But a thought is growing inside me, one I don't say. If this is already so protected, what lies deep within?
Inside the sarcophagus lies not a single coffin, but 3 nested inside each other, like an idea that refuses to die. 2 gilded wooden coffins, then the innermost one made of solid gold. And this very exaggeration is not just vanity, it is the fear of loss. The closer you get, the quieter it becomes, because you realize that this is not just art. This is a body that is not supposed to disappear ever.
And that's exactly why the burial chamber doesn't end with a glance. It becomes a long process. Weeks, months, years. Decisions, interruptions, returns. I stick to the only rule that carries me through this. Stay calm, stay precise. Because at the end of these layers, there's not just a treasure. At the end, A human being waits.
And with that, the burial chamber isn't finished. It becomes the center of the next steps, the next years, the next conflicts. Because everything lying here must be recovered without losing its meaning. And while rumors grow outside, work continues inside, calmly, slowly, precisely, as if every single second were so much too loud.
I notice how my perspective is changing. I want to understand, not possess. These amulets are not decoration. They are hope in metal. Every stone says you shall arrive safely. You shall be able to speak. You shall be able to breathe, even when you no longer breathe. And I wonder if we're even still able to believe like that today.
To us, a mummy is a find. To the Egyptians, it was a necessity. The body had to be preserved because identity is tied to it. Amulets, jewelry, protective spells. It's all part of a system to safeguard the soul. Death is not endured here. It is being organized. 3 coffins inside each other, and on the outside, the stone sarcophagus. That is not an exaggeration. It is the fear of loss, layer by layer, in order to prevent the king from just disappearing. And the deeper you go, the quieter it becomes, because you can feel, here lies not just a body, here lies an actual boundary. As the stone sarcophagus opens, I keep my expression steady. I must not show wonder like a human. I must work just like a witness.
And yet it still hits me. This is the moment I've been working towards for years. In my notes, I call it a great day for archaeology, a day you'll never forget. I breathe out quietly and force myself to keep working.
As the layers open further, something reveals itself that seems louder than any gold itself. A small wreath of cornflowers and leaves rests upon the forehead, like a final farewell. So delicate that you must not even touch it. It would just crumble into the dust. Carter and his entire team therefore only document it through photographs and object cards. And it is these very flowers that suddenly make the pharaoh seem human, not just a mere king. A human being, sent off with someone's love.
As the golden cover is lifted, I see the mask, the ribbons, the amulets. Corn blood. It's overwhelming, and at the same time, the condition forces me to be careful. Touch nothing. Nothing hasty, nothing for effect. I feel a profound sense of awe, an inner trembling. For this king is not on display. He lies guarded even now in every layer. And I know that every single wrong decision would make him die a second time.
To understand why the king was draped in this way, you have to know about Egyptian beliefs. The body had to be preserved so that Ka and Ba could find it again, and the deceased lives on as a truly effective spirit. That's why the body isn't covered in jewelry for decoration, but protection, amulets and symbols that people can no longer see, acting like a second skin, meant to ward off the dangers of the underworld and ensure the path to rebirth. Each layer says he must not be lost. And that's exactly why the grave goods are so specifically placed. Within the wrappings lay dozens of objects positioned according to religious law in order to protect and to empower. For the king was to see, speak, breathe, eat, and drink again in the afterlife. That's why there were rituals like the opening of the mouth, meant to symbolically restore the senses. It is a burial that does not end, but rather treats the body as a starting point for a life that lies out there beyond. When the mummy is finally examined, the golden mask isn't just sitting on top. It is protection and transformation alike. meant to make the king appear as Osiris in death itself. The mask covers head and neck, and with it begins the most sacred zone of the tomb. And while outside they're calling for sensation, in here they work as if in a temple. For whoever lifts this face lifts no metal. He is lifting the very idea of immortality.
I'm keeping calm on the outside, but inside I'm paralyzed. We've uncovered layer after layer, and now the face lies there, as if it were still keeping watch. In my journal, it says that today is a big day for archaeology, and that's exactly how it feels. As we loosen the mask, centimeter by centimeter, I force my hands to be patient. And then, as it lifts, I see not triumph beneath it, but vulnerability. The head of the king, the shell that death has left behind it.
The mask itself is a manifesto. It's made of high-carat gold, built up from 2 layers, and weighs about 10.23 kilograms. In the inlays shine colored stones and glass, lapis lazuli, carnelian, turquoise, obsidian, quartz. On the forehead, cobra and vulture embody the idea of the unified empire. Not just jewelry, but power as a magical sign, and that is exactly why this face looks so very calm. It's not meant to show death, it's meant to master the transition.
Holding it in my hands, I realize why all the layers before were so relentless. This mask is not beautiful because it shines. It is beautiful because it declares that the king lives on. And I realize how small my role suddenly is. I'm not the explorer. I'm the one who can't make a mistake. I see the spot where she lay, and I know this is just the beginning. If you want to know what Carter and Carnarvon found in the treasury, which Carter had resealed after discovery to focus on this burial chamber, then don't miss part 3. Because when Carter opens this chamber again, a treasure awaits that holds the incredible.
You cannot learn history simply by memorizing the thousands of dates. That's not history, but history is when you see the big picture. And for that, I am extremely grateful to my history teachers, because that is exactly what they did, and in the end, they are the very reason why it was. That my interest in history kept on growing, and I actually ended up studying history later on.